what if everything you consider to be real right now, like the device you're listening on, the ground beneath your feet, the bills you have to pay, what if all of that is actually the illusion?
Oh, yeah. It's a huge concept.
Right. And what if the spaces you consider, entirely fake or virtual, like your dreams or just passing daydreams, even the depths of the internet, are actually the literal gateway to ultimate reality
Yeah.
and immortality?
It's a complete inversion of how we're taught to navigate the world literally from the moment we're born.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're biologically and, socially wired to trust what we can touch, what we can measure. And we're taught to just dismiss our internal landscapes as, well, just fleeting imagination.
Just daydreaming, right.
Blech.
And that radical inversion is exactly what we're exploring in our deep dive today.
It is.
We're looking at a really fascinating spiritual and philosophical framework. It's from a text called Chapter of Celestial Cultivation, Article 10, Entering the Virtual Space.
Right. Authored by Feng.
Authored by Feng and edited by Kinyu. And our mission today is to explore how this text fundamentally redefines, well, consciousness, reality, and human nature.
And right off the bat, I want to clearly establish that our goal here is not to endorse this specific spiritual path or tell you that this is how the universe actually operates.
Yeah, we're not taking sides here.
Exactly. Our objective is strictly to impartially explore these incredibly thought-provoking ideas. Regardless of your personal beliefs, engaging with these concepts forces you to ask some very deep questions about the underlying mechanics of your own mind.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because the text doesn't just suggest that the spiritual realm is important. It actually redefines the very word virtual.
It does.
Usually when we say virtual, we mean something simulated, right?
Yeah.
Fake. Not quite the real thing. How does Feng flip that definition on its head?
Well, he flips it by elevating the spaces we usually write off, elevating them to the status of ultimate reality.
Wait, really? Ultimate reality?
Yeah. According to the author, the images you picture in your mind, your subconscious, the spaces you wander through in your dreams, online digital spaces, and even what he calls the heavenly Elysium world, these are all virtual spaces.
Okay.
But, and this is key, he doesn't use the word virtual to mean a lesser simulation. He uses it to describe the non-material world.
So he's essentially saying the material world is just the byproduct, and this non-material virtual world is the actual source code.
Precisely. In his framework, this non-material world is far vaster, much more magnificent, and significantly better suited for the free, unhindered existence of life than our physical world.
Wow.
And the text argues a really fascinating point about, trying to back this up, it states that your past only exists in this virtual space of memory.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. And your future only exists there, too, in the form of projection.
So the physical world is just...
The only thing tethering you to this highly restrictive material reality is the immediate razor-thin present moment, which we are forced to process through our crude physical senses, like vision, hearing, smell.
It's like we treat physical reality as the base game. We think this heavy physical world is the main event, the massive open world we're supposed to explore.
Yes, exactly.
And we treat our imagination, our dreams, and our online lives as just these little insignificant mini-games we play when we need a break. But this text argues the exact opposite.
Right, it completely inverts it.
It argues that physical reality is just this tiny, restrictive, fleeting mini-game. Actually, I think the text literally calls it a passing cloud, right?
Yes, a passing cloud. That is a highly accurate way to visualize his argument. And that realization dictates the entire goal of cultivation in this text.
Which is what, exactly?
Well, if the physical world is just a fleeting cloud, then pursuing permanence within it is entirely pointless.
That tracks.
The text states that to attain true immortality, an individual must break through the barrier of physical reality altogether. You have to put down the controller for the minigame.
To just stop playing entirely.
Exactly. Success in this cultivation means having your consciousness completely immersed in virtual space 24 hours a day, entirely forgetting the existence of your physical body and the material world.
But, I mean, that sounds incredibly abstract. Living completely in your imagination sounds kind of isolating, you know?
It can sound that way, yeah.
If the goal is to forget the physical world 24/7, how does someone actually experience this virtual immersion What happens to community if everyone is just checked out, floating in their own solitary mental universe?
Here's where it gets really interesting because that is exactly where the text introduces a very specific communal construct. It's called the home of Chanyuan celestials.
A home of Chenyan celestials.
Yeah, it isn't a solitary confinement of the mind.
Hmm.
The text describes this home as an intangible, illusory place where practitioners gather in the non-material realm.
Wait, how do you gather if you don't have bodies?
Well, when practitioners enter this space, they cannot see each other's physical forms. Instead, they deeply sense each other's spiritual presence.
Oh, I see.
Right. Without the physical markers that trigger human judgment, you know, wealth, appearance, physical ability, the text emphasizes that entering this virtual home provides profound, undeniable feelings of freedom, warmth, harmony, and love.
So it's a completely pure connection.
Exactly. It becomes a space where they interact purely on the level of consciousness, completely bypassing all those frictions of the material world.
It sounds like a sanctuary, honestly. But the contrast the author paints between this sanctuary and our daily lives is incredibly stark, isn't it?
Oh, it is brutal. The text explains that when practitioners inevitably have to leave this virtual space and return to physical reality to go to work, pay bills, exist in a physical society.
The stuff we all have to do.
Right. It feels like, quote, falling from heaven back to the human world. The author actually goes so far as to describe worldly life as a tragic, helpless script.
Tragic and helpless. Wow.
Yeah. In the physical world, we are overwhelmed by constraints, depression, and boredom, basically forced to toil and struggle for a reality that we fundamentally know is an illusion and will eventually turn to dust.
Okay, I have to push back on that framing a bit. Isn't it a bit dangerous to view physical life as just a helpless script that we need to escape?
That's a very fair point.
Because if you tell people their day-to-day physical lives are just a tragic illusion, doesn't that risk them completely checking out of their earthly responsibilities? Or just becoming deeply depressed about their existence? Is this just a radical way of saying we shouldn't let material burdens crush our spirits?
Well, it's a common critique of transcendent philosophies, right? But to understand the author's intent, we have to look at the underlying mechanics of his argument. He isn't promoting nihilism.
Okay.
The goal isn't just to cope with a miserable physical existence by ignoring it. The goal is to permanently relocate your fundamental sense of self to an ideal environment.
So it is an actual escape, not just a coping mechanism.
Exactly. He's saying your physical life is restrictive, so stop pouring all your emotional energy into decorating a sinking ship. Redirect that energy into building the lifeboat that will take you out of it.
But even that lifeboat, this home of Chanyuan celestials, isn't perfect yet, right? The text mentions there are still issues.
Correct. The author admits that this virtual home is currently imperfect because the people constructing it are still human.
Right, they still have their flaws.
Exactly. Even when they meet in the virtual space, they still carry worldly human habits, flaws, and ego. The text proposes that if these members actually possessed perfect human nature, this virtual home would become a flawless replica of what he calls the 1,000-year world on Earth.
Wait, okay, before we go further, the text throws around several massive terms here. It mentions the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world.
Yes, a whole hierarchy.
Specifically a place called the Celestial Islands continent. What exactly is the difference between these? Are we talking about literal planets in outer space, or are these just metaphors for levels of enlightenment?
In Heng's cosmology, these are distinct, real realms of existence. They form a hierarchy of spiritual evolution.
Okay, so break that down for me.
Sure, the 1,000-year world is described as the highest, most perfect state of existence possible while still tethered to the earthly or near-earthly plane. It's a sort of perfect, harmonious human utopia.
Got it.
Above that is the 10,000-year world, which is a higher spiritual plane requiring even less material density. And at the absolute pinnacle is the Elysium world, specifically the Celestial Islands continent.
The ultimate goal.
Yes. This is the ultimate, eternal, non-material paradise. It's the final destination for fully cultivated consciousness, completely free from any physical decay or limitation.
Okay, that clarifies the map.
Yeah.
But it also points out a glaring problem to me. If this Celestial Islands continent is the ultimate reality, and it's so full of harmony and freedom, why aren't we all experiencing it right now? What's holding us back from just stepping into this Elysium world?
This raises an important question, and the text actually identifies a core biological and spiritual hurdle here.
A biological hurdle.
Yeah. The primary obstacle is that our spiritual senses have not fully awakened. Our physical vision and physical hearing literally cannot perceive the frequencies of the non-material world.
Like a radio tuned to the wrong station.
Exactly. Think about how human eyes can only see a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. We can't see infrared or ultraviolet light, but they are absolutely real. The text argues that the Elysium world operates on a frequency that our current biological hardware simply cannot process.
So we are walking through a magnificent landscape, but we're completely blind and deaf to it because we are using the wrong sensory organs.
You nailed it. And because we're locked out by our biology, our subconscious only faintly guides us. We have this vague, indistinct pull towards something greater, a sense that there is more to life, but we cannot clearly articulate it or see the destination.
So what's the solution?
Well, because of this profound sensory blindness, the text argues we need cultivation to actually prove this space exists. We need a method to upgrade our senses, and more importantly, we need a guide who has already done it.
Which is where the author, Shui Feng, steps in.
Exactly.
He claims to be that guide. He states unequivocally that he isn't deceiving his readers, and that his spiritual wisdom proves he's not an ordinary person. He claims to know the exact path to the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world.
He does. But there is a really fascinating tension in the text here. He says he knows the way, but he outright refuses to reveal the full path right now.
Wait, why? If he knows the way, why not just tell everybody?
The reason he gives is quite revealing about the nature of this practice. He tells his followers they lack spiritual merit. He points out that they have only been following this path for a year, whereas reaching these states requires immense sustained cultivation.
Oh, wow. He says the fruit isn't just unripe, it hasn't even fully taken shape yet, and he cannot forcefully pluck an immature fruit from the vine.
Right.
It's like trying to forcefully rip a caterpillar out of its cocoon before it's a butterfly, just because you want it to fly today. You just destroy it.
That's a great analogy. Premature spiritual awakening is dangerous in this framework, and the author even admits his own intense frustration with this delay.
He's frustrated by it.
Oh, deeply. He says he's anxious, perhaps more anxious than his followers. He wishes he could take everyone to the Celestial Islands continent tomorrow, but the time is not yet ripe. He uses the phrase, the water isn't boiling yet.
It's a really fascinating look at the burden of being a spiritual guide. You clearly see the finish line, but you have to sit there and wait for everyone else to painstakingly upgrade their own hardware before they can cross it.
It's a heavy burden, for sure.
So if they can't be teleported to paradise today, what are they supposed to do in the meantime? What is the actual homework for someone trying to cultivate this state?
The author provides a very clear, proactive action plan for the present moment. His primary directive is this: immerse yourself in virtual space as much as possible right now.
Just jump right in.
Do not wait for death. Do not wait for full enlightenment. Followers are instructed to use their imagination actively. They are told to systematically design and enter a virtual world based on their absolute highest ideals.
They're supposed to architect their own paradise in their minds. But what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, the text points to a specific example from one of the practitioners, someone named Kingson Celestial.
Yep.
This person designed a highly detailed utopian paradise. And this isn't just picturing a generic calm beach for 5 minutes. This involves actively imagining a complex environment. The specific harmony of the relationships there, the complete lack of conflict, the pure aesthetic beauty of the surroundings.
That takes a lot of focus.
It does. The author explicitly states that holding on to this kind of vision, maintaining this highly specific internal imagery, has a profound and massive impact on the future of that person's life.
Wait, if we connect this to the bigger picture, isn't that a massive shift in how religions usually operate? Prioritizing mindset over ritual.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's the most striking claim in the text. The author states that learning to live in this virtual space and actively transitioning your mind into a virtual state in advance is actually a more important method of cultivation than just reading scriptures.
Let that sink in. A spiritual guide is telling his followers that sitting down and actively using your imagination to build a perfect internal world is more vital than studying the holy texts of the tradition.
Because reading about the spiritual realm is still fundamentally engaging with the material world. It's an intellectual exercise processed through physical eyes, but actively transitioning your consciousness into a virtual state is experiential.
You're actually living it.
You are flexing the exact spiritual muscles and generating the exact frequencies you'll need to exist in the non-material world.
And, think about your own daily routine for a second. Even if we step entirely outside of a Shufeng-specific cosmology, the practice described here is such a powerful psychological tool.
Oh, absolutely.
Regardless of your spiritual beliefs, we all have the ability to cultivate a rich, internal, virtual world, right? Through imagination or deep focus or creative thought.
And doing so allows you to express your true individuality entirely free from everyday societal constraints.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize all of this, the core nugget of wisdom here is a radical reframing of where true freedom actually lies.
Right.
We are conditioned by society to believe that freedom comes from conquering the material world, getting the bigger house, securing the better job, accumulating physical safety nets. But this text argues that true freedom comes from abandoning that physical conquest entirely, and instead cultivating and expanding the boundless virtual space within our own consciousness.
And in an era characterized by unprecedented information overload and chronic physical burnout, that is a really vital perspective to consider.
For sure, we're all exhausted.
We are constantly tethered to material demands and digital anxieties. In that context, consciously taking the time to retreat into your own meticulously designed virtual space of love and affection might not be escapism. It might be the most effective practice we have for preserving our human nature.
It fundamentally changes how you view your own quiet moments. When you close your eyes and imagine a better world, you aren't just wasting time. According to this framework, you're literally practicing immortality.
It certainly makes you want to curate your internal dialogue and your passing thoughts with a lot more care and intention, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly provocative thought to ponder today, based entirely on the premise of this text. If the virtual space you hold in your mind right now is the exact blueprint for the reality your consciousness will inhabit for eternity after physical death, what kind of world are you actively building in your imagination today?
A question well worth sitting with.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the chapter of celestial cultivation. It has been a truly mind-bending journey, and we hope it gives you something fascinating to explore the next time you catch yourself lost in thought. Until next time, take care and keep exploring.